Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Never Mind the Buy Box. Today, I am joined by Mexican Johnny. So, Johnny has joined us all the way from Mexico. Matt and I were talking about the other day that we play a little game with Johnny called Location Roulette. So, whenever we have a meeting with you, Johnny, me and Matt generally get on first. We're like, right, where's he going to pop up? Which location? Is it going to be England? Is it going to be somewhere else? But now you are over the pond and down a bit in Mexico. So how's it going?
Yeah, unfortunately, I blurred my background this time, so couldn't play that game this time. I'm in the spare room. I've got the pretty cool office set up, but it's got a bed and a bunch of my stuff on it. Just doesn't look the best. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Now I've been doing this close to a year. It's falling more into sort of midterm stays rather than sort of traveling around, having a holiday, going to see all the sites. It's a lot slower. As soon as I get here, I join a gym. I'm really trying to settle in as quickly as possible. So, but no, it's good. Right now it's 6 o'clock in the morning. So if I've got the hat on and stuff, it's all disguised just to try and make myself look like I haven't woken up. Yeah, Mexico City is a great place. Not it's one of the biggest cities in the world, but doesn't feel too dense. Like the population density doesn't feel too crazy. The weather's pretty good as well. It's not too humid. So if you go to like Bangkok, you'll get like fumes in your face, and you can really feel the heat. But here it's like a nice hot heat, and there's a few other Amazon sellers here as well who I've been fortunate enough to meet up with as well. So it's good. It's good. Mexico City is a cool place.
You
Yeah.
are literally forming. You guys over there are forming a little bit of a Mexican Amazon cartel. For want of a better word, being topical, being in Mexico. We'll come on to that a little bit more. It's just loads of people have jumped on, and I want to say hello. We've got Cindy, Mark, Matt's joined us as well. Hola, absolutely. Mexican Johnny, he's here in the house. Phil's just joined us. Rosie says, hello, gorgeous girl. And Jay, absolutely, back at you. Joe says, good afternoon. Donna's here. Ben's here. Paul's here. I'm just like randomly looking at all of the different screens. So before we find out a little bit more about Mexico, we do have a bit of an announcement to make. Don't worry, guys. It's not horrendous. So it's just for those of you that watch this live via YouTube. From next week, hi Ash, she's joined us as well. From next week, we are no longer going to be streaming live via YouTube for a couple of different reasons, but mainly it's like loads of different loads of different comments coming from different places and things like that, and we want to be able to have the YouTube replay for people to watch. So the replay will still be going on YouTube and it will be uploaded incredibly quickly, but it's just we want to make sure that we're focusing on the live in the Facebook group, so you're getting the extra content on there, and then the replay will be posted on YouTube, and it'll all be done. It'll always be done at a specific time, and things like that. So Jana's joined us as well. Hi guys. So yeah, we just wanted to make that clear. So we tend to have our lowest viewership of the people that watch via YouTube, but we didn't just want to do it. We wanted to give you a kind of week's notice to say that if you are not in one of the Facebook groups, which is either Amazon Entrepreneurs, we'll put the links up, or Ecom Inner Circle, if you want to catch us live, talk live, ask questions and things like that. And of course, this is out on podcast as well now. So there is literally no getting away from us. We're everywhere. So we just want to make sure that if you have the opportunity and you want to watch us live, you still can. Absolutely, no doubts about that. But from next week, we'll be ceasing streaming live on YouTube. It will only be live via the Facebook groups. So we will put the links up. Little Aliens just popped up. I don't know how that's happened. How'd you do that? Spatai, how'd you do that? Little Aliens just popped up and given us a wave on there. It's like a little GIF or something, GIF, whatever you call it. So yes.
So I was going to say the salesy pitch would be that if you're a member of the Facebook group, then you get an exclusive first peak of the podcast. So that's the salesy one. And then I think it would go up to all the other channels on the same day, a few hours later, potentially. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Ross has just joined us as well. So yeah, if you want to hear it first, if you want to be top of the pops when it comes to all the latest content that's coming out through Nevermind the Buy Books, get in one of the Facebook groups, either Amazon Entrepreneurs or Ecom Inner Circle. We make sure that we put the links in there in this kind of chat and on YouTube, so you guys are fully aware. So we're just going to talk a little bit. I want to catch up with everyone really just before we get started. How are things? How are sales? You know, I know that there's been a little bit of unrest in the communities ever so recently. You know, big sellers saying that they're stopping selling certain places, and you know, for various different reasons and things like that. So how is everyone getting on at the moment? How are sales? What's working? What isn't working? Is this what you're expecting this time of year? Are you up? Are you down? Let us know. It's always good to be able to go through and just get feedback from everyone. Paulina's joined us. Jay's joined us. Like literally, everyone's watching from loads of different channels today, which is good. It means that we are stretching out far and wide. But yeah, let us know how you're getting on, because this year we're starting to step into the year where things can traditionally, depending on what you're selling, then you know, it can go up, it can go down. So just getting a good thought. I'm generally seeing across the board, April and May have been pretty good for people so far, and in particular May is doing incredibly well at the moment. So we can see here, Scott's been saying it's a good month for us so far, best month of the year. Johnny, I know you're experiencing the same, right, at the moment? Big boost in everything.
Yeah, last month was our record month ever, which is surprising because it's not Q4 or any sort of seasonal month. And then this month we're trending to have a even better month as well. So I do think the market is getting better. I think the UK's getting back to being pretty good again. Seems like competition is a bit lower. Prices seem to be staying pretty good as well. FBA's gone down a little bit, but it's still remaining strong. But I think generally our operations, our systems are just getting better as well. So that's probably why it's gone up as well. Like, we haven't spent much more money, but we've just really improved our systems and turnaround rate. Our staff are performing better, and it's just one of those times where the more you're in the game, things will improve just like operationally and systemly, and you'll create better systems and keep upping and upping and upping. So it's good. It's good. It does look, there's a lot of opportunity out there, definitely on Amazon.co.uk. And yeah, like someone's mentioned, now some big sellers pulling out and focusing on other marketplaces, which are also extremely strong. So that leaves more room for us all who are still in the UK market.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly. I did want to talk about this a little bit because Thomas is, you know, a very good friend of this group. We cross collaborate on projects, and you know, we go on his stuff, he comes on our stuff. Johnny, I don't think you mind me saying, recently, you know, everyone knows Tom's in that part of the world. You're in the same part of the world as him now, and you know, you've met up with him and things like that. And there's certain people for decisions that they make that I wouldn't feel comfortable talking about, and I would feel comfortable talking about. And unless Johnny thinks I'm wrong, but I don't mind talking about this one with Thomas, because one, I don't think he'll mind us talking about it. It's not like we're doing it behind his back. And two, he was very transparent in his reasoning. And I'd like to dive into that a little bit more, because he made some really sound you know, arguments there that he's put out publicly that I think are up for discussion. And I actually think he hit on something which I've known for a really, you know, for quite a while now, you know, through to talking with sellers and things like that, about the leveraging of debt to build this business on Amazon and why the UK market is in a little bit of the state that it is. So I think it's valid conversation topic to be able to talk through. So unless you think otherwise, Johnny, but I really don't think Thomas would mind us talking about it. We obviously don't know his business inside and out, but the stuff that he's put on Facebook and the reasoning as to why he's left the market, I think some people will be incredibly confused. Some people would be like, wow, that was a massive shock. What are your thoughts on it, Johnny?
I think you have to consider that myself and others, even though we're British English, Tom, for instance, has not been in the country for 5 years. He's I don't know if he's still classed as a UK. I don't know his sort of tax situation, but I don't know if he's even registered in the UK anymore. So, he has multiple businesses, and I know a few of them are thriving. He has the sourcing virtual assistants, Fast Track FBA, which is excellent, well-tuned business. And he also has the American business, which is doing incredible margins. And sometimes in business, I think it's a good move if you spread yourself too thin, and especially in these difficult times where recessions are happening, where if things are a bit on the tight side, it's good to just, sort of bring down your pool of resources and narrow your pool of resources and really focus on what's working really well. So I think all it was, the American business was performing really well, and the Fast Track FBA is performing really well, and he wanted to focus on those two. I know his UK predominantly FBA, and I know FBA margins went down, and I think he was just worried that in the next few years margins might go down a little bit more, and he'd be in a lot of trouble. So, if you have two thriving businesses and one is sort of on the edge, not performing as well but he's had great years, then sometimes it's good just to call it quits sometimes and just leave when it's good. That's self. All you have to do in Amazon to get out of the game is sell your stock, right? And you can still be up. It's not the end of the world. Right. So like when you close down an Amazon business, you're just selling your stock and be like, okay, I don't want to continue doing this anymore. You have no UK staff, no physical premise. It's very easy to be like, I'm going to transition to another marketplace because there's more volume and better margin. I'll put all my resources, all my capital there because I get a better return. It's like having a stock portfolio, isn't it? Like you might have 10 stocks and 9 are performing really good with good dividends, and one is just being a bit rubbish for the last few years. You just get rid of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really smart decision. Just going to scale back for a few people that have just joined us because, we have got a few shock horrors that have sort of said, have I heard that right? Thomas is leaving the Amazon business. No, he's leaving the UK in terms of he is closing down or has been gradually winding down the UK section of his business, which we'll come on and explain in a moment. So the subject is not actually the full subject that we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about a couple of other things relating to some of the things that Amazon are asking for in terms of you get to a certain point in your business, they want extra verifications. So we'll come on and talk about that in the moment. But I just thought topically, as this is a live weekly show, I know this is something that may have been a shock and it may have scared a few people. Thomas is known to be one of the biggest sellers around in the purely reselling UK system. So people might be might be a little bit shocked. So I wanted to clarify that because it's like what Johnny says, he's not leaving Amazon. He's very much still an Amazon seller. He's still very much ingrained in Amazon, but he's made a decision. There was a series of unfortunate events as I understand it, and this is what he's publicly said in his group. So that's why I feel comfortable talking about it, not talking about his behind his back or friend insight or anything like that. There was a few things that had happened that he talked about very publicly that led him to this decision. And both Johnny and I are very much in agreement on it. It was strategically, from the sounds of it, looking at it from the outset, the right decision for him to do. He's got two incredibly successful and thriving businesses. So therefore, you've got one that needs, that's not quite working right, that would need, for anyone that follows Tom, for anyone that knows Tom, for anyone that's met him in person, Tom's a different level in terms of, you know, the way he thinks, how he lays stuff out. You know, he's very strategic. Yeah, incredibly strategic in the way that he does stuff. And you get more of an understanding of that when you meet him in person. And so if something, this wouldn't have been like a crying into his pillow situation. I'd imagine when he made this decision, it was actually something that fueled him even more, you know, to be able to go on and said, yeah, so this is interesting. But this is what I wanted to talk about today in particular. So what tends to happen is on Amazon selling, people tend to follow trends, and the big trend at the moment seems to be leaving the UK to going to the US. That's like the big trend at the moment. What everyone seems to be doing. And I sell in the US, you know, I don't sell OA in the UK, but I sell it in the US. So it may well be, I don't want anyone to think I'm being, you know, hypocritical or anything like that. But there's a couple of things I wanted to pick up. One, don't do what everyone else does. Johnny's already highlighted it. I actually think there is a really good opportunity in the UK market at the moment, which I always think that, you know, just because people are leaving, it's because of the way that their business is operating at the moment. If Tom could start again, he may come back to it. He absolutely may come back to it at a different point, you know, re-strategize, you know, regroup, and then come back to it. The situation is, and this is what I'm predominantly seeing at the moment, is people in the UK, we went through a period of time over COVID of incredible growth. Okay, so people saw incredible growth over that period of time. And what happened was they utilized a lot of lending and funding and things like that to be able to grow their business, to keep up with the demand, because they had access to supply, and they did phenomenally well. But what happened is during that period of time, and this is my own personal view on it, is people became slightly over leveraged, and they carried on borrowing and borrowing and borrowing at the same rate. But then what happened? The COVID demand went away, and then margins started to fall down. You would still get the same level of well, there was a reduction in demand as well. Demand never really dies on Amazon, but overall supply got better. So therefore, what happens when supply gets better? Competition, more competition. So margins start to be cut. And at the end of the day, it's net margins, it's net profit. You know, that's the most important thing in business. You know, to be able to maintain extra funding throughout the business. But what's happened? The Amazon spider has caught you in its lending web. So it's very hard to get out of that cycle of, you know, 2, 3, 4, 500,000 pounds, you know, worth of loans. That's what we're talking about, right? You know, we're talking about people borrowing exorbitant amounts of money, and being in a position where they have to spend it. They absolutely have to spend the money, and if they don't spend the money's not working for them. But then what happens is there's more competition because everyone else is buying the stuff. Margins are going down. So therefore, they're cutting their margins down. So what will happen is they have to sell the stock to repay the debt, but not as much is coming back as it was before because margins are lower and there's more competition. So you're kind of caught in this cycle a little bit of people. My personal you know, opinion on that side of it, I'm saying there's other sides as well, is the easiest way for me to say this shortly is people are still running their business as though it's COVID, and it's not, and there needs to be a regroup. And those that have realized that, like I said, have other profitable parts of the business, the easiest thing to do is just wind it down, get rid of it, focus more on the good, get rid of the bad. Very strategic decision. those that don't have that opportunity are panicking. That's
Yeah.
you know, my sense on it. Sorry, I know I went into a bit of a rant there.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, lending's always a difficult one. I don't want to particularly twice, just generally speaking, like I think with Amazon lending, if you go from a very low amount, I know Tom didn't do this, and he gradually increased. I think if you're a
Which was
seller
the right thing to do at the time. Sorry, yeah.
at the time, and you know it still works now. And to clarify, he was still making money from the UK business. It's actually just
Mhm.
more that pressure and sometimes having to deal with something, and sometimes something's just too much. It's not worth your return when you have other good businesses, so you just call it quit. Even though things are worth your money, his actual rate didn't make sense for him. With Amazon lending, some people go from, okay, I'm going to take a £10,000 loan, and then they get an offer of 200,000, and they think, oh, I can spend all this, and they get the 200,000, and they get such a big difference, and that could be very damaging for a business, you know. And like, you know, we're doing 2 million plus now, and our Amazon loan is 40,000, and we've gone up from about 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So we've like really very slowly done it. The other thing to mention as well is the APR has gone up a lot as well. So it's gone from 8.99% during COVID times to now well, my most recent offer was $500,000, and it was 12.99. So what's that in interest? That's what 60,000, 70,000 over the year in interest costs. So if you can't utilize that $500,000, you're spending 50, 60,000 interest in a year, and it's difficult to spend that sort of money in the UK marketplace. In the US marketplace, everything is 10x. It literally is 10x.
Absolutely.
Things sell 10 times as much in the UK. That's actually facts. So like, even looking at competition versus sort of sales volume, it's still 10x. So that's why like US is so attractive. And when you see people doing like 10 million in US, and everyone's like, oh my god, it's the equivalent of someone doing 1 million in the UK, really, because everything is just a lot bigger. Their average salary is a lot higher. They're in consumer debt. They're like a massive spending market. But yeah, it's in the UK, having that, there's not many people doing 8 figures and above, and you can really do that sort of revenue as far as there's not many people doing that. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to touch on as well was just how you can sort of diversify. And I think in Amazon it's quite interesting that you can diversify by entering other marketplaces and setting up a different entity and having other entities in a different marketplace. So if one marketplace doesn't perform as well, you can just cut it, sell your inventory, cut it, and just focus on the higher margin, higher sales volume one, or whichever is working for you best. I know in the UK have like unique bundles, you can kill it, and there's people doing 30,000 a day with that. So obviously still opportunity, but that's not
Absolutely.
Tom's game, and that's not everyone's game. It's not my game yet. Like I'm probably want to do it in my business at some point, but it's not my game. So yeah, you can diversify different marketplaces by setting up different entities. You can diversify going to private label and set up a different entity there, and it's all about building that sort of layer of security when you have these sort of businesses. For myself, I have the German business, and I have the UK business now. I have a software training business. It's building that layers of security and things on top of each other, which all complement each other. That's what I wanted to say on sort of his point. He's made a killing from the UK business, and he's now pumped it into the US, and now he's still gonna make a killing. So yeah, probably even more now because he's just focused on the US, which is a great market.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say in conclusion on this a little bit. I'll come back to the comments in a moment, guys. So I know there's been quite a lot that people have said about this. Is do not underestimate this as being like it was a shock decision from, as in it was a shock announcement, but you can see from Tom's chart, this is something that's been in the works for quite a while. It's been a strategic decision. He's winding it down in order to pump more into his business. And yeah, don't feel bad for them. This is not a sympathy or empathy decision. It's very much strategic. right decision and smart decision for him. Interestingly enough, what you said there, Johnny, is part of the reason why we're coming back to UK arbitrage, which is we will be starting from probably the start of Q2. When things happen. Oh, sorry, what'd you say?
For the UK marketplace was a secret that you're coming back.
No. Public UK marketplace coming back, because one of the reasons more than anything else is I talked about it publicly. We had a suspension a few months ago, and we had no outlet to sell the stock from it. Had the suspension gone on a lot longer, sat on thousands and thousands of pounds worth of stock, we had no outlet in order to sell the stock. So actually, strategically, it makes sense to be doing, even if it's on a smaller scale, selling in the UK, that we can, use that outlet to be able to sell the stock so it doesn't stop. So we're not sat on stock, especially if it's expiring stock and things like that. So adding those layers in, Johnny's absolutely right. It's about protecting yourself. When your business grows to a certain level, it's not so much about growing anymore. It starts becoming about defending and protecting. And if this was to happen, what do I do now? It's that security, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about that security, diversifying within the same expertise of yours. If you have the expertise, try and diversify within that expertise. I know people always say multiple streams of income, but I think that's really multiple streams of income in your field of expertise. Yeah, and then like your 10-20% is like passive. So stocks and shares, ISA and stuff, or like a buy to let or something like that. So yeah, absolutely. Should we get some of the questions? There's been a lot of questions.
Yeah. Absolutely. So someone said there's some of the ones that I can see names, some I can't. Where we go. Someone said it, the good thing, it's more competition, less competition for you guys. Oh, it's Sean that said that. Less competition for me and Johnny. Definitely. That's Sean, by the way, that said that. We've also got Lotfi said a good strategy would be to split loans into US stock, European stock, not only UK. Well, the difference is for something like that, it depends what type of entity that you're running, because if the stock has been bought by one entity, you should not technically be selling it on another one. From an Amazon protection point of view, purely, sorry, I didn't turn off my my notifications, purely from a again, account protection point of view, because if you are buying it from one entity and selling it onto another, not only is there like a financial risk there as well, it's also an Amazon risk, because they might not accept that invoice. Well, they won't accept that invoice as being authentic. So you could see yourself in a suspension situation if you are asked to prove the authenticity of that document. So never cross streams like in Ghostbusters.
I'm not sure if that's allowed. It's like technically to actually split your loans into different entities. Obviously if you have it under one entity, one banner, then it's fine. But if it's you have two different completely separate entities and you're transferring money from one to the other, then I could get you into a lot of trouble, I believe. Yeah.
If you're on the same company, fine. But not if they're different entities. That's the way I've always understood it. Sean said, again, agreeing with your point there, Johnny, plus inflation, not taking that into account, higher interest rates, consumers having less money to spend. I don't think the demand is ever an issue.
Yeah, I was going to put on that. I don't think things are bad right now. I think that sounds terrible because I know people are struggling, but went to London before Mexico and people are still on the streets. People are spending a lot of money. Tradespeople are making a lot of money. Like there's a lot of money out there still. I don't think there's going to be an issue with actual demand. All the tradespeople I've been speaking to and at the gym, down the gym, they were like, they have too much money. There's too much stuff, too much cash going around. There's still a lot of money flowing about. Obviously there are different situations where obviously electricity and stuff is hit and I'd say on the sort of selling side, some people might be like, rather than having that side hustle of an Amazon business, they now need to sell their stock and have that as a safety net or a emergency cash because bills have gone up. So maybe competition has fell out, but demand is still definitely there. I don't think it's as crazy as COVID because everyone was at home. Obviously, when everyone's at home constantly, can't leave the house, you're never going to be able to match that sort of demand. But it's absolutely still good. It's still better than as good as, or it's grown since pre-COVID. The thing is, there's a graph like that going up, and then COVID goes like that. Now it's sort of flattened up. It's even though it's growth, but growth, you need to just leave out that 2 years of COVID, right? And it's gone up well.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. If COVID hasn't, the way you've got to look at it is you've got to now take COVID out of the equation. You've almost got to discount that period of time when it comes to looking at data, looking at past things. We've got to ignore that. Because it wasn't a true reflection of something that will happen, again, depending on what you believe, obviously, of course. So we ignore that period of time now. But what's interesting, if you were to cut that out and push the two together, the growth would still be higher. It would still be on an upward trend. So it's still, there's more demand now than there was before COVID. If you take that area out, definitely. Just picking up, a couple of people have said this. Oh, sorry, we're having comment wars. Rosie said, did Tom sell the business? Was it a replan catalog? So I think Sean said they'd be interested in buying deals. Obviously, you'd need to speak to Tom about that. As far as I understand it, he wound the business down and, managed to utilize. Tom's a very smart businessman, so he absolutely will have not walked away from anything without being up on it, essentially. So whether or not the deals will be fed into, his deal system, I'm not sure. But yeah, he definitely would have just walked away from nothing, right?
Yeah. So I was going to say, like, he does have a sourcing company, like where he gives out his deals. So I mean, you could check that out, fasttrackfba.com. I'm not sure if it's a free trial or not, but I don't know. But if you want to look for his deals in his stores, he advertises it. He has a business that displays that. But, you could probably still see his historic, or any sellers, his product still, and he does online arbitrage, right? So that means that you should be able to find it with enough deep research. And sometimes it's just that stock could only be available at the certain price during different cycles of the year, right? So OA is all about cycles and timing. When is something on promotion and when is something on offer, right? And really tracking that down is sort of a few years of being like, okay, that hand cream is on offer in January and July, so that's the time I'm going to buy that hand cream and stock up. So it's all about cycles, right? So you can still go through an online arbitrage competitive business, and just, if you can't find it at the right price, then it's potentially because it's not in promotion, or you're not considering cash back. If you look at the historic price, so if you look at the historic price for the last few years of an online arbitrage product, and the prices remain consistent, and that person is still restocking, replanning, you can be able to buy that from somewhere. If they're an online arbitrage business, you just need to look deeper. So more research. That's what I can say about that. It's just more research. Yeah.
Or if you're smart, guys, and you join the Hive at the start and get access to our new inventory management software, B-Stocks, then you're going to find that that's going to do a lot of that job for you. Essentially, when it comes to replenishables and knowing what you should be selling, when you should be selling it, going to be a game changer, guys. So we look forward to delivering the results on that when we've got people on the testing system, which is not too far away.
Yeah, this is important. Getting the right team is also important. Yeah, people is I go about this, but people are the hardest thing about business is managing people. That's the hardest thing, without doubt, of any business, is managing the people and having a good team. It's incredibly tough. And the other issue is that you might have a really good team, and then your head or your manager might just leave. They give a week notice and they're gone, or a 2-week notice and they're gone. and you've got to find that superstar again. And it's a constant cycle, and it sucks in business. I hate it when I lose good people, and we do lose good people, of trying to find superstars constantly, and they can really change your business around, like in your stress levels. And I think business isn't that stressful. It's actually the people you manage. It's the management of people that is the stressful part of business. But actually, the business is great, but it's the people that's always the stressful part for me. And that's also again with Tommy had 90 plus staff, so you got to think like people are the most stressful things in business, and I'm sure he could clarify all this in a video. But if people are the most stressful things in business, and you have 90 plus people to manage, and you have 3 businesses, 2 are performing amazingly and 1 is okay, you might think to yourself, okay, times again potentially could be a recession from what a lot of people are saying. A lot of people predicting that. I have 90 plus people to manage. That's extremely stressful. I'm worried I might lose some sources because of all the pressure and all that sort of thing. Why don't I just wind one down and just kind of take a load of my head? Because it's a lot. It's a lot. So yeah, people is get it right, and you can have stress-free times, but if the wrong person or if someone leaves suddenly, and then you got to, I guess you got to build those systems to rebuild those layers. But sometimes some people are hard to replace, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Would you say, so just throwing this out there, obviously you and Tom are very similar in the type of, you operate and own different types of businesses, but the digital nomadery, if that is such a phrase, I think I've just poshed it up there. I don't know if that exists. But would you say that's the biggest challenge in being a digital nomad, having other people relying on your running your business essentially for you, and then when one leaves, it can I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but of course, yeah, it can cause a massive hole, right?
Yeah, I don't think it would make a difference, to be honest, whether I was in Mexico or whether I was in the UK, because for me, I'd always want the setup where I have a warehouse manager and then a second in charge who's like a stock controller. So you always, you don't want your dominoes to fall over at once, right? You want to have that sort of backup, which sort of can always take over, and you always want to strategize, being like, okay, so if X leaves, then who's gonna take up that responsibility? And maybe they won't be as good, but at least they can fill that responsibility and actually do that day to day. So I think it wouldn't make a difference if I was in UK or Mexico. Like if I had to go back, I had to go back and go clean things up at a warehouse. But for me, I wouldn't have a business if I had to be somewhere, to be honest. So I've tried to set it up as well systemized as possible and as easy as possible. And I've tried to create as good culture as possible and pay them well, and let them have those weekly dominoes and stuff, so they're happy. So that part doesn't stress me out. And my back end team in the Philippines, our second in charge, I'd say second oldest, who did a lot of our graphics, she left last Friday. And yeah, it does add a little bit of stress, because you're like, okay, if our main manager leaves or gets pregnant or something like that, we have the second in charge to take over. So, but now the second in charge, who knew a lot of the stuff, has left, and then you're like, okay, I need to rebuild someone else to get that sort of secondary role. But yeah, it's always the case in business where you could have the top 3, top 2 just leaving, and then you just got to like clean up unless you get to a huge size. So this conversation might be different if I had a few members of staff, but we have 15 to 20 staff members, so we do have layers in a way. But yeah, it's stressful.
This is the key, actually, and this is leading into Jess's point here. Losing good people is one of the things on my mind constantly. What do you do to make adding someone else into that position easier whilst the good people are still there? But I think you answered that kind of before that anyway. It's about, like I said, adding those layers as you grow, essentially.
Yeah. So you want to teach your managers to be good at delegating, essentially, right? So I don't want my manager to be out there really packing stuff, to be honest. I want him obviously to delegate that to staff members, right? And I don't want my manager of my back end team to do every admin task. I want her to be able to delegate that task to someone else so she can deal with managing and making sure everything is organized. So again, you get them to delegate, create SOP systems, and then hopefully in a position where if your lead person leaves, then you can either quickly fill it up, or it'd be quite easy transition period because you've had other people in the team who really sort of understand it. The only thing for me would be if my warehouse manager leaves, like the day-to-day would still run perfectly fine. It's more actually if he left, then it'd be sort of a disciplinary thing. Like if that side of it where you need a manager who's going to discipline and motivate, and he's great at that. Not the motivation part, emphasize that part, but so that'd be hard because, and I'm not good at that either. So I'd probably have to, I'd have to hire quickly in this sort of leave time, if he ever was to leave. Because for me, I suck at discipline. I'm not very good at micromanaging. So he's great at that. So sometimes it's that personality trait might be missing that you might have to fill. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think, yeah, absolutely. For me, for any key staff members, it's about filling the slots of the things that you can't do yourself. And it doesn't matter what level of business you're at. Johnny, we're going through this the same at the moment with everything that we're doing with the Hive and B stocks. There are very much areas in that side of the business that none of us have encountered before. So we have to make a decision. Do we invest and bring an expert in, or bring someone in that's going to help us do it? Does one of us take the time to learn it? And we look at all of these different elements, and sometimes it will be, yeah, one of us is going to do it and learn it, create the SOPs, then we'll bring someone else in. But for other areas for other areas that none of us have no inclination or the ability to be able to go ahead and learn, we have to bring someone on board, to be able to do that. So lots of different moving parts to be able to manage and outsource, but layer it up, ratchet it up. I think that's the best way to be able to do it.
Yeah, I like the advice, just teach them to delegate. And also, just on a side note, is that both me and you have been in business for over 15 years. I think you've been 20 years running businesses, and every new business is the same. It always takes a while to build these layers. So don't expect this to go into a business you just started up and this happened overnight. This is something that you build up over time. And for example, obviously software and high skilled like marketing and stuff like that. Like it's hard to build that company up that's not fully reliant on you or reliant on you to run and thrive. So things always take time to build that team, the layers, who you need. Do you have too many staff? Do you have too little staff? And it takes time to get all these right before businesses come a bit more systematic and programmatic and just fluid. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's what we know about in the big tech companies right now as well, which I know your partner's involved in as well, Johnny, is that, there was such a boom of people taking on staff in all of these big kind of blue chip tech companies. Elon Musk is one of them, where, he walked into Twitter. I mean, yeah, I don't know whether this is true, but he reckons Twitter could be run with 50 key people, as opposed to the thousands. And, when he first took over, he was being super brutal, just sacking everyone essentially. And he did it in a very different way. But tech companies have been shedding people like crazy because they've overhired essentially. So this is, again, it's like it's a cycle. It doesn't matter how long you've been in business. Sometimes you need to regroup. And yeah. We're not even going to talk about AI, because not even bring that into the conversation, because that's a game changer again.
That also reduces or can help push staff. But yeah, I think with Twitter, I think it came in and thought they had the wrong personality type. He saw Twitter as a tech and engineering business, where Twitter before were more of a sort of a news. They saw themselves like a news outlet, political media, where they have different sort of political teams making sure they're always right on like the left or right. And Elon Musk came and said, no, actually we want engineers and a tech business to actually. It's a tech business. We don't want to be part of the political spectrum. We want to be just sort of neutral or not have anything to do with it. So that's why you can produce so many people, and that's why Twitter weren't making money, because they're not the right business. Obviously made money through ridiculously cheap lending and all that sort of scammy stuff, all those scammy businesses like Uber and all those, where never made money, but they just got free money. So feces just pump money into them because their growth was so massive. But yeah, anyway, yeah. And my brother as well, though, he's even though it's a very successful business, it's a small tech company, so he refuses to hire anyone. So he just does it himself, and he has like an address API, so it's like getaddress.io, which is it's a pretty big business, but he runs it all by himself. So because he just thinks
that's
like
crazy, right?
Yeah, I know. He just doesn't want to deal with people. But yeah,
They are
it
a
makes sense.
pain.
They're okay. Yeah.
They are a pain. People. A person is great, but people are a pain. I'll tell you that now. Thanks, Ash. That's really nice of you to say. Just bringing Ash's comment up there, saying about the facts, and that's why we run these communities, to be able to have a positive light. My title today was a little bit, which we still haven't come on to talk about, but it's not a huge subject anyway. But it was a little bit clickbaity today, in the sense of what does Amazon want from me now? But it's always, we always try and give as positive outcome on everything as we can, because we're not here for side hustles. We're not here for this is everyday business building empire stuff for us. So myself, Johnny, Matthew, Matt Cromie, loads of other of you that are watching, like I said, we've moved away from the side hustle stuff and have done from quite some time ago. So this is about building solid businesses, and you just gotta, bad things happen, bad shit happens, and you just gotta suck it up, gather what you can out of it, move on, learn from it, try not for it to happen again. But like Johnny says, business is cycles, so there's a good chance you end up facing the same problem again at some point in the future. But it's lovely when people give their feedback, so thank you. Someone said, is your brother Norm because he runs STK by himself? Imagine if he was like your secret brother that you hadn't told us about.
Could be. Yeah, I mean, look, it's expensive hiring a software engineer. So if you can do it all by himself, and people are happy with the product, then why not, right? Why not?
Absolutely.
I'm sure he has some staff members. I'm sure he's scaled up a little bit. Maybe not. I don't know. I haven't spoke to Norm for a while, but obviously his product works, and if he can run it by himself, then fair play to him. Like, he must be doing well. Fair play.
That was VN, by the way. So hi, VN, said hello. Mark said, lost my full-time recently, stepped backwards into the business, but a chance to put better things in place whilst looking for those packers and outsourcing admins. Yeah, love that, Mark. It's an opportunity. That's what you've got to look at it as. Definitely an opportunity to be able to go back in. I always talk about one of the best people I know in this business that is so good at growing their business, then stopping, strategically stopping, looking at everything that they've done, what works, what doesn't work, and really enjoys doing it, is Luke Dugan, who will get on Never Mind the Buy Box again at some point in the future. And, he's really good at that, growing his business and then taking a step back into the business once he's done that to really work out what's going. So it's not a bad thing, guys. Please, this isn't a bad thing. You always have to look at everything as an opportunity to improve. For sure. So I think we're up to date, on comments, as you've confirmed that you're not Norm's brother. So that's good to know. Really great chat today, guys. I mean, we're almost at the end of the hour, and we haven't even talked about our main subject, which is, talking about what Amazon want from us as sellers. One of the things that we've been very conscious and talking about over the last few weeks is, in my personal opinion, Amazon is only going to start getting more stringent in everything that they want. If you think about the size of them, with all the authorities and everything that are breathing down their neck, and what they have to ask for and what they don't have to ask for, what they have to prove, what they don't have to prove. Sometimes, in my opinion, it feels like Amazon is personally attacking me when I'm, having to supply stuff, or they're asking for something that seems so unreasonable. But what you guys have got to remember is it doesn't look at sellers individually. If something happens to update legislation, or something happens at a much bigger scale, Amazon just put a blanket policy across all of their sellers. And whilst it might feel like victimization at the time, unfortunately, it's not. They don't care about you, essentially, as a seller. And if you can't prove what they're asking for in their new kind of goalposts, within that new parameter of what they want, you're out. It's as simple as that. A bit like what we were speaking about with Thomas earlier. If you don't fit that new criteria, then you're out. They don't care about you. And it's one of those things that you have to kind of understand and get your ducks in a row, so that when these occurrences do, I mean, we're I'm not going to lie, we're going through the ringer at the moment across a number of different areas, mainly to do with US patent issues. But out of the blue today, or yesterday, I think, I've got a banking verification on one of the accounts, which, if you go through a banking verification, until you go through and do it, all your disbursements are held up. So, when you've got thousands and thousands of pounds that's out there that could potentially, if Amazon doesn't like one thing that's on your documentation or what you've got to prove, then, those disbursements could be held up for weeks. So this was just a little bit of a warning to kind of talk through some of this stuff in order to make sure you guys, if you do come across, I think bank verification and account verification are probably two of the biggest ones to watch out for, apart from account health issues, in terms of things that could delay you. Have you been through any of them recently, Johnny? Bank or account verification? Have you ever
No, I
had any?
haven't. A long time ago.
Mhm.
I think with this, it all kind of comes down to that. Amazon let go a lot of people in the last year, right? It was like 10,000 chunks at a time. So when it comes down to any sort of support or getting things done from Amazon, and like you said, the issues you had in America, it's way harder now to actually speak to a human being. So that definitely, with the documentation and stuff, you've got to make sure everything is just what the system or what their sort of algorithm wants to see, essentially, right? So it's got to be very refined. Because again, they want to make money, right? Before they didn't care because they could just grow. Now they're trying to cut down, and they probably outsource more to India and those places. And it's got to make sure it's refined, and make sure everything is clear, and make sure the system can easily pick it up. For my best example is stuff like seller feedback. Like, they never ever remove it automatically for merchant fulfilled anymore. They just say nope. They just say nope. We're not going to remove it. So you always have to go through the email system now. It's just, things have changed now, where the actual seller support on Amazon is just terrible. It's really, really bad, and it's got to get through on other means. So again, emailing the right emails. And I know stuff like Vlad, he has, was it Seller Union? I don't want to get it wrong. He's got a website, hasn't he, where he has all the different emails of all the different staff members.
I think that's Vlad's one. Yeah, if anyone's got it, Cindy, if you're watching, maybe drop the link. Like I said, we're always happy to, we're not biased here. So, we want everyone to have the right information. So even if that means putting up someone else's group to do it, we're more than happy to do that. But yeah, make sure you have the right contact details. This is a great point, actually. Matt says, if you're going to do something like make a change on your account, make sure you do it the seconds. Well, not the seconds after you've been paid your disbursement, especially if you're on a 14-day disbursement cycle, because otherwise, if you are leveraging debt, in particular, doing this business through credit cards, this isn't financial advice, obviously, then you definitely want to make sure that your disbursements do not get held up. I think people are going to think I'm crazy here, but I'm going to make this statement, and it's one of those, if you know what I mean. I actually believe now it's done a flip Whereas 5 years ago, account health issues used to scare the bejesus out of people, like it would be the worst thing to deal with. Whereas I actually believe now the easiest things, some of the easiest things, because of what they've put in place, Amazon, to deal with are on the account health side of it. I'm talking about, now that you can ring someone up and speak about what they want to do. I have an issue with Brown Registry on one of our accounts at the moment. And did anyone know that you cannot physically speak to anybody in Brown Registry? It is a nightmare. There is no appeal system. There is, but it's done. They cut off everything. So you have to appeal through Seller Central for certain things, even though you need Brown Registry. So it doesn't even go to the right department. So actually when it comes to things like account health, there are far more complicated things to deal with than there are some of the other things. So you got to make sure you've got have the right information in place. So let's talk about bank verification, account verification. So this can happen to anyone at any time. It may well be a trigger. Thanks, Cindy. Yeah, Cindy's just put up the Seller Union.
Is that I think that could be the old business partner, right?
Oh, right. Okay.
Scrap
Okay.
that, scrap that.
Maybe someone tagged. Yeah, maybe maybe someone tagged Vlad. Just tag him, and he'll be like, "Why are they tagging me? What's going on?" Someone give him a tag. Get him over here, and he can post the link. That'll be the best thing to do. So,
just want to shine some positive light, though. A lot of the account health issues now, it's completely changed now. Actually, it's like some of it's just like having to watch a video like for 20 minutes and stuff like that. So they like want you to make sure you learn how to take off account health stuff. So they force you to watch videos. So they've just made it more automated, really. And some things just haven't caught up to the automated system, like you said with Brand Registry. Like they haven't got that system down now. They haven't got a human brain to logically look through things and actually help you. So some things, again, it's impossible to contact because it's all algorithms and templates and automation. So again, to the right person, it's just really to summarize it, isn't it? But yeah, to finish off, that's just yeah.
I would absolutely. I would rather deal with an account health issue now compared to anything else than I would to deal with like verification, Brown Registry, all of these other aspects that we deal with on a daily basis. So from that point of view, but I just wanted to quickly finish off with running through that account verification and bank account verification. Whilst it's now sounds like I've made it like super scary, it's not. One, don't ignore it. When it comes, deal with it very quickly, but make sure you have all the correct documentation, because sometimes if you don't verify, depending on which marketplace it is, and it can be for a variety of different things, it could result in suspension of selling privileges if they've given you a time limit to do it in. So always be checking all of your marketplaces. So if you have a UK account, which obviously is unified with the European marketplaces, which they always are, make sure you're checking them on a regular basis to see if there's any re-verifications, even if you do not sell in those marketplaces, purely because if you leave it ignored and then it goes into a suspension, that's a suspension that you're going to have to sort out. And if you are applying for anything else, like a new account, or if you want to apply for Brown Registry, you will not get that because of the suspension in the other market, and it can be held against you. So please make sure if you have a UK account that you're always checking those European markets if they're asking for verifications. If you have a US account, the same applies to Canada and Mexico as well through the unified side of it. So please make sure you're checking all of those on a regular basis. Generally, bank verification will be the first one that they will ask for, where it is what it says on the tin, which is they want to verify the bank that you're using is part of their, is it PDP or PPP or GEP or what, too many acronyms. And if it's not, then you're going to need to change those bank details. But it's generally a case of making sure that you are banking with a bank where you can get a physical copy printed off of the bank statement that you can take a picture of. That's what they want. Physical. They don't accept screenshots for verification. So you need to be able to physically print a copy of it, take a picture of it and upload it. Some banks don't do that, believe it or not. Some banks don't give you the access to be able to call upon that information. So you have to be able to have that for one. And then secondly, for bank verification as well, it has to be obviously part of, it has to be, everything has to be matching for what it is. And you have to be able to prove that they are on the approved list. And something else you might have to do is you might have to fill out a document. You might have to fill out a statement on your company headed letter to say that you are authorized to receive payments from a certain account. We'll put the wording up in the group. So it's just a case of changing a few things and swapping it out, keeping the wording as it is, but swapping it out with your company details in there. They're generally the three things that Amazon asks for in a bank verification. What can also happen is they'll have those, and then it might give, don't freak out. So it's good to do this at the time. Is what will happen is then it will take you through to the next page, and it will ask you to arrange a call where you show your ID. Okay. So it has to be a passport, I think passport, driver's license, but of course you've got to make sure it matching everything on your account as well. So what you can do is when you press the button, they can literally, this is what I love about Amazon. This is phenomenal. You can push a button and you can be connected to someone to do it straight away, or you can pick a time and do it later if you don't have that documentation handy. But take my advice. But when you're about to submit it, have your passport handy or whatever it's asking for, go through, get it done, because bank verification can take up to 15 days. So, the sooner you can get it done with the right information, the better. Now, with account verification, there are a few other things that may come into account with that. Reconfirming entities. So you will need to go onto Companies House, maybe confirm share ownerships, if there's other directors, you might have to prove non-connections. There's a few other things relating to that, but account verification, that's generally going to be the harder thing to sort out, and they could vary with what they're asking for. So always make sure that you have all of these details to hand in a folder, and they're generally going to be the things that I've discussed: supplier invoices, proof of address, utility bills. If you've got a warehouse, just gather as much information as you can. That it's like your rainy day folder, that if you ever go into a type of verification, that you've got all of that information there in one place. Because I tell you what, when those emails comes through, all logic goes out of the window and you start panicking, you can't remember where you've put something, and you do this and you do that. Get ahead of the situation, be proactive. Create your rainy day folder and put all the information in there so it's there when you need it. Anything else to add to that, Johnny?
That's good. I think that's the hour, isn't it? So
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
These guys are trying to keep me on the hour as much as possible. They're cracking the whip. They're like, don't go beyond the hour too much. But that hour's gone quick, right?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the question thing. We could again ask as many questions as you can. Always happy to answer everything. It helps us help you by asking more questions. So always enjoy that part of this. And obviously in the Hive, and we'll go deeper into different questions and then give more insights into our own business and how we actually do things. So that's the difference. But always really enjoy it, and hope everyone got good value. And this is enjoyable. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. We're quicker than no, Cindy's quicker than ChatGPT. Absolutely, she is. Just quickly before we go, Paul's question about changing company. Don't Yeah, you want your coffee, definitely. Don't worry about that too much. Don't overthink it. Just make sure everything's matching. They generally ask for, I think it probably will be bank details matching the new company address. You can't do anything about company's house. I think that's the one I know least about. So what I'll do is I'll have a chat with, if Matt Cromie's on here, could you answer that? Because that's his domain. But like Matt says, whenever you're going to make a change, oh, here we go. Matthew Wright's coming to save the day. If you're going to make a change, make sure you do it after a disbursement, because you don't want any financial payments to be held up.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, just make sure you change your bank account address first, as Amazon was for bank statements. So, yeah, we got that one. Most people only get the statements monthly, so it causes problems. Yeah, for sure. We can dive a little bit deeper onto that on Hive Live. So, Paul, I know you're part of that as well. So, we can clarify that a bit further on there. Right. So, Johnny is cracking the whip. Definitely. He does want his coffee. He's hurrying me up. So, guys, we're going to see you next week. We're going to have a guest on next week. I think we're going to talk about repricing and some new strategies relating to that in order to try and beat those price tankers. So I've got a guest coming on that's going to talk about that specifically. So that's going to be fun. Yeah, Starling can give you a letter of authorization. Absolutely. That's something else you might have to have, letter of authorization. I think I'm just going to create a list and put it in the Facebook group. So just a reminder, guys, from next week, we will not be streaming on YouTube anymore. We are only going to be streaming via the Facebook group. So, you have been warned. I will post it. Well, I was going to say I'll post it in the Facebook groups, but if you're not in there, you're not going to see it. But we'll make sure the details I'll put on the YouTube videos. So we're not going to be streaming on YouTube anymore. Facebook groups only. So come in there, join the Facebook groups, and get the information before anyone else. The replay will be uploaded on YouTube, but it is going to be done a little bit later. So exclusively, the Facebook is going to be where you're going to hear the information first, and when you can ask questions and ask us live and everything like that. So, but do your usual, make sure if you are watching this on YouTube at a later stage, give us a thumbs up, do a comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell, and you will always get the warning or the alert, I suppose, of when the video is going to go live. But have a great week, guys. I'll see you with a guest next week. Any questions, keep popping in the group, and we'll see you then.
Awesome. All right, thank you, everyone. Subscribe. Yeah.
See you later.